Studio Me Productions is a full-service video production company based in Pittsburgh. It offers custom video production services, podcast studio rentals, and communication studio build-outs. Choosing Studio Me Productions means investing in a partnership that values creativity and delivers results that exceed expectations. With a deep understanding of marketing and storytelling, Studio Me ensures your project will captivate and engage your viewers. Learn more at studiomeproductions.com. That's studiomeproductions.com. A strong work culture is the invisible force that binds employees to each other, to the company, and to their work. It's linked to better business outcomes, happier employees, and increased retention. How we work and where we work continue to evolve in almost every way, yet our human need for connection and purpose remains. Help your employees connect and thrive by evolving your culture to support your team, regardless of how or where they work. So discover how the Kindling Culture Agency can transform your company's culture at sparksomething.big.com. That's the Kindling Culture Agency at sparksomething.big.com.
CompUnetics is the leading developer of unified voice, video, and data collaboration and conferencing applications for the service provider, government, and unique workflow applications. The Summit Olympus and Evergreen platforms, driven by their encrypted user interfaces, enable powerful and secure collaboration. Combined with world-class support and innovative professional services, CompUnetics delivers the right solution every time. Learn more at compunetics.com.
This is TechVibe Radio, your front row seat to Pittsburgh technology and innovation ecosystem. TechVibe is brought to you by CompUnetics at compunetics.com, Huntington Bank at huntington.com, Kindling Culture Agency at thekindlingcultureagency.com, My Benefit Advisor at mybenefitadvisor.com, PNC Bank at pnc.com, Savior at savior.com, and Studio Me at studiomeproductions.com. Coming to you from the Huntington Bank Studios, here are your hosts, Audrey Russo and Jonathan Kirsting of the Pittsburgh Technology Council. So much fun to spin up yet another edition of TechVibe. And Audrey, so much fun in the Huntington Bank Studios. We have a bit of an upgrade going on these days, so it's great to be in here. What do you think?
It's great to be here.
Yeah.
You did good work. Huge thanks to Studio Me.
Studio Me definitely came in and built us the ultimate studio, so now you can listen to us and you can also watch us as well too on YouTube.
Great.
With, dare I say, some high-level production value. So it's super fun.
It's great.
I'm loving it. I'm like a kid in a candy store right now, Audrey, having fun because this is just amping our storytelling up at the Tech Council, which to me is just exciting because there's so many great stories.
There are.
One of the cool stories happening was our Cyburgh event last week. It is probably one of Pittsburgh's biggest, I can probably say the longest running.
12 years.
12 years cybersecurity event where it's a full day convening the top experts around all things cybersecurity.
No, I don't think there was a topic that we didn't unravel. And right before the event, wasn't there the big student violation that happened
on Canvas?
Yeah, on Canvas.
Yeah, exactly. So it was
where everyone was paralyzed.
Everyone was paralyzed.
It was 2 days before Cyburgh. And I was hearing from all these parents my kid can't finish their test at school. They
Can you
can't
imagine
complete my final?
Yeah.
Isn't it amazing?
It definitely set the stage for how important cybersecurity is. I think we all know that we sometimes forget, but having this event is a great way for us to be reminded of just how horrible it is out there, I guess, right?
I know. I was reading something to you right before we went on about being spoofed by legitimate phone numbers.
Yeah. See,
from your bank. Legitimate phone numbers from your bank with information about the digits behind your code, the same phone that's on the back of your card.
And then they're clearing your bank account out because why not?
Here's the thing. Yeah. You don't give someone your password.
No.
You don't.
I don't even know my own passwords anymore.
But you don't give them that. Don't give them your date of birth on the phone.
Yeah.
Don't.
Anything. Yeah. And that's part of all the exploits. And really having that full day at Cyburgh, we got to hear about so much what is going on. And of course, AI is dominating everything. AI is really defining what is happening with cybersecurity now, which is, of course, yes. And honestly, God bless AI, but I'm kind of like, are you getting a little over it maybe, Audrey?
Do you want to slow down a little bit?
I don't know. It's like I'm 100% in on AI, but can there be a conversation that doesn't involve it maybe? But once again,
I think it's a little too late.
It's a little too late. Mm-hmm. But so Audrey, actually, this was the first time you did not make Cyburgh, Audrey, because you were sick.
I know.
However,
not a bad cold.
You called me and you said, dude, you're like, I got to see the keynote, because we had an amazing keynote with Richard Evanchec, who basically runs the FBI in Pittsburgh, and Kelly Locher, who is with the Department of Justice, who's actually prosecuting cyber cases. So I'm like, Audrey, I'm going to FaceTime you.
It was great.
So
it was great.
Came in, I was kind of holding the phone. I'm like, wait a second, dude, you don't have to hold the phone for 45 minutes. So I think I used a dinner roll and I propped it up against that.
It was great. It was great. At first I was a little seasick, and then you captured it. Yeah, so it was great.
It was
I got a front row seat.
I was glad you got to see it, because I just thought some of the insights and advice they brought were just so actionable to a business that I'm like, you should be really thinking about all of this. What were some key takeaways for you?
Wait, what do you say for a business? I was going to throw it on you for a minute.
Sure.
Because you're always talking to all these different people, right? And
totally.
Did you talk to all the different speakers at Cyburgh?
Not all of them, but of course, when people would come out and we had a chance to talk.
I think the thing that's amazing to me about the conversation is, number one, the FBI wants to be your friend, right?
100%.
And I really appreciated them saying, hey, we want to know, reach out to us. It's no matter is too small.
Exactly. And the instant you know something, don't wait it out and see if they'll unlock your stuff. It's no, the instant someone says they're ransomwaring you, you call the FBI. Right.
Don't roll over and pay the ransomware.
Here's the thing that I took away from that, Audrey, was holy moly. I didn't realize that if you actually did pay the ransom, you could be held criminally liable as well,
because you're aiding and abetting.
Yeah, a criminal organization. So actually paying the ransom is illegal. What?
Is it really illegal?
Yes. That's what Kelly said. She's one that prosecutes these crimes. And I was like, oh my God. So I have an idea. Yeah. I'm going to go get to the part here where we hear from our friends, Richard Evanchec from the FBI and Kelly Locher from the Department of Justice. I was talking to some high-level folks there, Audrey. Got some great insights.
Thank you.
Check it out.
Jonathan Kirsting here with the Pittsburgh Technology Council and TechVibe Radio on the ground here at Cyburgh 2026. Just came off, I think, with an amazing keynote today that it just educates everybody in attendance here. We have over 200 people hanging out with us today. And I'm talking with kind of like the star of the show today. We have Richard Evanchec from the FBI. Thanks for hanging out with us today. So informative what you talked about today. And some of it seems very basic in some ways, but the idea is keeping us secure. And the fact that the FBI is on our side here.
Absolutely.
When something terrible does happen. So thanks for being here today.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Great to be here. It was a great conference.
Yeah, I was learning so much. I'm taking notes furiously. I'm like, I got to ask you so many questions, but I want to keep it down to, you mentioned this one resource I think everyone needs to know about, and you can talk about some of the tips and tricks, but the Winter Shield. If you go to FBI.gov/Winter Shield.
Correct. Yes.
I wrote that down. See,
yes,
I remembered it. And talking about what are some of the key things that businesses should just be thinking about. It's just a daily habit, basic practices. So that they don't get hacked and don't call you. And the big thing is that you want them to call you. If there is an incident, the FBI needs to know, and you want to be helpful. Right.
Yes.
So yeah,
absolutely. Yes. So in the FBI, we talk often about left of attack, right? So that is that space where we can harden our defenses prior to an incident happening that makes us all safer. We don't ever want someone to have to call the FBI because there's been a catastrophic loss of data or some ransomware attack there. So what the FBI did is, over this past winter, we started a campaign called Winter Shield. And Winter Shield is really, what are those best practices that cybersecurity practitioners could make sure they're employing in their systems to harden their defenses so that they're not being susceptible to some of these very sophisticated attacks. And when you look at that list and you go to that website that you mentioned, it's things like making sure, Cyber 101, we are not using default passwords, right?
Exactly.
Making sure that we are applying update patches to our software. making sure that we have really phish-resistant authentication in our systems, to making sure that we have offline backups and that we test the recovery of data from backups should an event happen. So these are just very, I think, basic things that we expect our companies and our private sector to employ, but we recognize that sometimes there is a cost associated with these things. But these are just, I think, the ground level basic things that we want industry to be aware of, and just some tips that we have to make sure that if you do these things, we think you're going to be in better shape than you are now, potentially.
To get you off on the right foot, I think it's so important for people. I really encourage people to check it out because it's something, book through it and just, it reminds you, because I think we all get lost in our day to day. And one thing that's been big to me after covering cyber stuff forever is it has to be part of a company's culture. And the idea that it's just how we do business. And you brought this point up in a very unique way that I was really excited about when you brought up, is the fact that the CISOs and everyone, the management, C-suite should not be just thinking of this as an investment, but this is just how you do business, is to have the right tools, to have the right culture. Tell me more about why that's so important.
Sure, absolutely. So often when I speak to leaders in industry, they refer to investment in cybersecurity or money spent in cybersecurity as an investment. And I think investment does truly have, I think, a good connotation to it. But I can tell sometimes that it's an overhead, right? What we want to just create a change in culture, as you mentioned, is that cybersecurity and the money that we spend in cybersecurity has to be part of our everyday decision that we make in business to make sure that our systems are as safe as they can possibly be. You don't want to be in a situation where your data is stolen or is at risk, or you're at mission failure because you don't have access to your infrastructure, or that you're in a position where you're having to negotiate, do I pay $5 or $10 million to get my data back, right? And so often we go back and we look at how an attack happened, and it's difficult to see. You have end-of-life edge devices that should have been replaced 5 years ago. An investment of $50,000 could have avoided us from being here. So getting our business and our industry leaders to think more and more about cybersecurity as a part of our everyday business. It's not an investment that we make at the very end of our budget cycle, hoping that it's enough to fend off that attack. We want it to be a decision that we make every day to invest in it in a positive way to make sure that we're not getting to that terrible end result.
I'll give you an amen on that. That is 100%. One last question before you go. I know you're super busy. Is really looking at how AI is just supercharging all things around fraud and ransomware. It just seems like now AI is easier, less just to keep people getting hacked. So it makes all of these basics you're talking about to me seem all the more important. Obviously, am I seeing this trend?
Absolutely. AI is just enabling threat actors to be that much more efficient and that much more better, whether it's creating a deep fake that's going to trick some employee into thinking that they're talking to somebody that they know, or whether it's exploiting vulnerabilities in a system. AI is being used to increase the likelihood of a success for attacks. I think what's even a little bit crazier to think of is even after threat actors are stealing data, they're more and more using AI to run against that data set to figure out the value of that data and to figure out what is the most sensitive part of this data so that they can leverage those lessons in their negotiations. So AI is being used everywhere from the bad actors. The good news is that more and more the good guys are using AI to make sure that we can help defend and bring people to justice that are doing these bad things.
It's such a thing you mentioned that a lot of these hackers and ransomware, they actually have HR departments. They're working at office buildings. It's not just some lone person in a hoodie trying to make a fast buck, but it is literally a criminal enterprise. And thank God for resources like the FBI that help stamp this stuff out when it does happen. I think about the data that you collect at the end of the day so you can use that towards fighting off more stuff. Amazing stuff. I have a million more questions, but I got to get you on your way because I know you're super busy. Can't thank you enough, Richard, for taking time to talk with me today. Great stuff. So glad to have you here in Cyburgh 2026.
My pleasure. Thanks for your time and good luck out there.
Fantastic stuff. Once again, Jonathan Kirsting, Pittsburgh Technology Council, TechVibe Radio, learning so much. It's Jonathan Kirsting with the Pittsburgh Technology Council and TechVibe Radio, of course, on location at Cyburgh 2026. And I just had the keynote today, which is absolutely amazing. I think one of the best keynotes we have had in many years here. Well, I personally just learned so much. I think about all of our people in the crowd just learning and learning. I feel like we literally had the dynamic duo on stage talking about all things when it comes to cyber crime. We're talking with Kelly Locher today, who's the Assistant U.S. Attorney for the Western Pennsylvania District for the Department of Justice. Kelly, amazing talk up there, and the insight that you brought. You're seeing this stuff day in and day out, and you're bringing that knowledge to us today. So thanks for being here.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. Really excited to be here.
There's so much you brought up. It's almost hard for me to figure out where to start. But I'm going to start with, you brought this point that I thought was so tremendous. It's the fact that you actually have to educate the judges sometimes based on some of these crimes that are happening so they can just see how heinous they are. You mentioned before that people cut their teeth with the violent crime stuff. And as you work your way up to the cyber stuff, the crimes seem a little less ferocious because it's money. But it's like, yeah, tell me about that.
Yeah, so I think that with violent crimes, the damage to a person, the harm to a person is evident, right? With cybercrime, it's a little less in your face, if you will.
Yeah.
And so you're seeing these companies, you're seeing these individuals forking over large sums of money. In the cases of individuals, life savings, in some cases, retirement savings, right? One of the points we talked about during the keynote speech was that while these aren't violent crimes, they are crimes of emotional and psychological manipulation. You're preying on the vulnerable in our society. In the case of targeting individuals, but also in the cases of targeting companies, you're targeting their most sensitive data. Think about in the case of healthcare institutions, you're targeting patients' PII, private medical information. The threat of exposure is not just financial, but in that case, it's privacy information.
It's literally privacy and then out there because someone hacked it, they took it, and oh my goodness. And so what I get excited about is I look at the role that you play in this, and that at the end of the day, it all comes down to you with something that is being prosecuted, and you make sure that there is consequences for this. Without doing that as a job every day. That's very exciting because I want to squash these people.
It's very exciting. It's very weighty. And you certainly feel a responsibility to do right by the victims and to make the right arguments under the law to achieve the results that you want.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about the federal tools that we have at our disposal to do that. First and foremost being our partnerships with our various law enforcement agencies who investigate these types of crimes and who are the experts in doing so, as well as the various federal statutes that we as prosecutors have at our disposal, those wire fraud, money laundering, conspiracy, computer intrusion statutes, to put what we call a cause of action, a legal wrong behind what those folks are doing behind their keyboards.
Yeah. As a big fan of all the Law and Order shows, I get it. I think the reason I was like so obsessed with watching you guys talk up there, I love being able to see the different tools that you do have in place to put these folks hopefully behind bars and get this from happening. But of course, these crimes keep going up and up and up. It just seems, and you mentioned before that, especially during COVID, we saw people working from home. It was kind of creating these more instances. Is this going up as much as I think it is?
Year over year, the statistics show that cybercrime, that ransomware attacks continue to increase, to the point about specifically the increase in cybercrime since the work from home era sort of began, say, 2020. So year over year in the last 5 to 6 years, we're seeing that's for a couple of different reasons, right? A little bit of relaxed nature of folks maintaining passwords, some shared passwords between personal and work accounts that are compromising, now work systems. It's really it's a difficult thing to get a hold on and to manage, because the second you let your guard down is the second that exploitation happens. And that's really where the danger lies.
Exactly. And that's why I find it so important that we come out today and be hearing experts like you. It gets us thinking. Because I always say that it's in a culture you have to have in your business. You're always thinking about cyber. It isn't just a thing that once a year you visit it and so forth. But it's a guide, you're living this day to day, because how cool is it to be hanging out here and being able to spread the good word about what you can do and how you work with the FBI. That to me was really magical. I didn't realize how closely, obviously, you work together to come to you. We had a case, there's just so much cool stuff going on. I'm like, it's got to be so much fun to be part of that system.
It's a lot of fun. It's extremely rewarding. First of all, just being at this year's conference, sponsored by PTC, is great. A bunch of long-time, very experienced professionals in this industry who all come at the issue from different angles.
Exactly.
I've learned a lot of technical jargon.
All right.
Just sitting here for a couple of hours this morning. And hopefully folks learned a little bit about the investigatory and legal perspective from us. But like I said, there's a lot of energy here. Very exciting to be here. I think that for as scary sometimes and dangerous as cybercrime can be, it's encouraging to be here to see folks invested in what can we do to make our companies, our data safer, and how can we continue to fight off these cyber criminals by using legal consequences.
That's what it's all about. So glad you're part of this today, because it's just a whole ecosystem going on here. It's not just the tools, it's not just the technologies, it's also the legal side and the different tools you have through the legal system that helps bring these folks to justice and keeps us all safe. So,
Yes,
Kelly,
absolutely. Thank you very much, Jonathan. I appreciate it.
You are the best.
So much fun hanging out with you, Audrey. Always on TechVibe.
Great.
Great
Glad to
time.
be in the studio.
Isn't it cool?
Yes,
Very-
really cool.
Very
Great.
excited, very pleased, and I'm going to encourage everybody to go to pghtech.org. Check out all of our content there. Whether you want a podcast, you want a video, we're giving you the content how you want it, when you want it, all that good stuff in between. So,
Cool
I'm down.
beans. Cool beans.
Absolutely, everybody. We're going to catch you on the next one, and be sure to go to PGH Tech.
Thanks for geeking out with us on TechVibe Radio. Tune in next Sunday for more tech and innovation stories right here from Pittsburgh. Get TechVibe wherever you get your podcasts and never miss a show. TechVibe is brought to you by the generous support of Compunetics at compunetics.com, Chorus Call at choruscall.com, Highmark at highmark.com, Huntington Bank at huntington.com, the Kindling Culture Agency at thekindlingagency.com, PNC Bank at pnc.com, Savior at savior.com, and Studio Me at studiomeproductions.com. TechVibe proudly broadcasts from the Huntington Bank Studios.